So, this is not the best lighting. I don't even have my tripod yet, but I just needed to document some of my initial thoughts, or rather, my sort of developed thoughts at this point, because this is what I'm currently reading. I'm reading Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, du Maurier, French. And there's something about this book that really works out for me in the sense that me being an anxious person and somebody who thinks all the time and thinks about thinking, and I'm thinking and thinking and thinking, she does exactly that. I mean, we have a main character who is full of anxiety, full of doubts. She marries somebody who is 20 years older than her, apparently. And of course, it's a big change of what the life that she was used to living. And especially moving from a position of complete powerlessness and helplessness, and then she's the mistress of a house, of an entire state, really. And people, she feels that people have certain expectations of her. This is early 20th century, so there are some things that are still expected of young women, especially when you marry and you become the mistress of a house. But she goes from like 0 to 100 in a way that she cannot handle. And what I like about Rebecca is that it's written in first person, so that gives us a very close relationship with the narrator, who is this young lady whom we don't have her name. We don't have her exact age either, but it's for somebody like me who has those kinds of doubts, and like sometimes I have my problems with confidence and things like that. It's so easy to just slip into her shoes, which is also kind of an issue sometimes, because um it it gives me a perspective of not even a voyeur. Like, you are not a fly on the wall, you are her. You're walking through this experience of changing completely from one socioeconomic status to another one, and living in your head so much. She's just living in her head, thinking that people don't like her, or creating stories in her head. And from what we see, I mean, should I mention that this is, I'm trying to make it as spoiler free as possible. Um, but there is one particular character who really hates her and does not like her, being the new mistress of the house. But the rest of the characters are actually very helpful and they are very nice to her, but she's all up in her feelings, in her head, thinking that people are gossiping about her and saying mean things, and all of the expectation that she thinks people have of her. And I feel I feel very much represented by this main character. So this reading experience for me, it's very personal, I would say, and it's something that I'm doing as of past couple of years, like 2 or 3 years. I've been reading more. I don't want to say contemporary, but the kind of reading that I've been doing, I've been reading more like less good characters, more flawed, more gray, more real people, because it's a process that I'm undergoing at the moment, or have been undergoing for the past, I don't know how many years at this point, probably a decade already. But this this is really really well written. It's easy to follow. The action just takes you along. Like, it's so easy to read. um of course, I wouldn't recommend it for beginners, like, at all, beginner readers or people that have not had any sort of approach to early 20th century writing, because of course it's written in a way that is completely different from what current authors do, because again, it was written in another time. But it flows very naturally. It's not a reading that Of course, there are slower chapters and moments in which the action won't flow as naturally, or, you'll have to read descriptions and things that perhaps are not that interesting, especially nowadays in the world in which TikTok brain takes over and people don't want to read a lot, which is a shame, in my opinion. Um, but I feel like in the beginning, I did have my problems with the first couple of chapters, because I really wasn't quite getting the hang of what was going on and how we are introduced to the main character and her employer and her future husband. But then once they are married and everything starts like unfolding, I think that is where really we start getting into the thick of it, and how she's discovering things, and she's getting history in bits and pieces. That's also the one of the interesting aspects of this novel, is that we are getting the information in a fragmented way, and stumbling through a history of love and loss that permeates the entire house and the people that work there. So for me, it's something new. Of course, it makes me a little bit anxious at times, and it's not a happy reading all of the time, or like ever. Like, there's just a few moments in which it's like cute and sweet, but most of the time, again, it's this main character who is all up in her head, stop cannot control her anxiety, and she cannot fit into those shoes that she's expected to fit, or that she feels that she needs to fit. Of course, she can just leave everything to the servants, the maids, those people that manage the estate for them. But remember that she married a man who's in his 40s, and she's always all the time saying a young schoolgirl. And schoolgirl doesn't mean that she's in primary or secondary school. Schoolgirl is more so somebody after high school. So according to some readings I've done online, she's in her 20s, early 20s. But imagine you've been living your entire life in a position of disadvantage. You have no family, you depend on somebody else who mistreats you, and you are just a servant for this person. And all of a sudden you are taken from that position of comfort, in a way, because it's what she knows, into the unknown, into going up the ladder, and she can't find herself in it. So far I'm halfway through. I think I'm right in the 50% mark at this point. I started reading it when I went on vacation a couple of months ago, and that's why also I think it was kind of slow for me at the beginning, because I wasn't really in the right place really to read. But once I came back from that, and I've been reading slowly because I don't have that much time to read, unfortunately, anymore. But again, it's very captivating, and it's written in a way that just is very human. And that's what I've been enjoying reading recently. Of course, I like happy endings, and I like my fantasy series, and I like to read a romance that gets me kicking my feet. But I think that also what I'm trying to do is come to terms with more human, raw, not happy literature necessarily. And I think it's something that has to do with the moment in which I'm at in my life, of wanting to face certain realities and acknowledging myself as a human, and a flawed human, somebody who, like this main character, has all of these doubts, and she cannot sometimes manage certain situations that she should be able to manage, but she doesn't have the education, she doesn't have the background. And so it's a comforting read in the sense that I understand the main character, and I think that is what really gets me. I've read Sally Rooney, two of her books. Intermezzo is in my to read list, which is a video I will get to eventually. And Sally Rooney really does this thing of creating, or just writing something that could happen to a friend or a cousin or somebody that you know, and it puts into perspective the experiences of humans, of friends that fight, friends that do stupid things or make mistakes, and life goes on. And I think that that is what I was struggling with for the longest time, this idea of like life goes on beyond your mistakes. This is a little bit all over the place, but I just really needed to put this down somewhere, especially this being one of my first videos, but it's what I'm reading at the moment. So I just needed to verbalize all of these things that are bubbling in my head, that I have nobody really to talk to about, because I don't have any reading clubs or anything like that. So, and this is my way of recording my thought process. I enjoy watching other people on YouTube talking about books, and it's something that I realize that I need to yap about things, um, even if it's just to myself, but in a way that feels entertaining and engaging, and I can look back on that. And I could write all of this down, but at the same time, it feels more motivating for me to just record it. Like this YouTube channel, this thing that I'm doing is like it's a diary, it's a journal, it's I I there was another word. It's not a repository, but it's like a place for me to just dump all of the things that I'm thinking, all of the things that I'm living through and reading, especially. Of course, there will be other things sprinkled in, but is like a way of you know listening to myself think in another way, because I tend to be very silent, like thinking thoughts to myself, not really writing them or talking to other people about it. Or if I talk to other people, the things that they are not reading what I'm reading, so um it's not the same. But anyway, highly recommend Rebecca as okay. I had to pause because my neighbors. I I teach all the time from my apartment, but not the same thing, especially because of the noises. But like I was saying, I highly recommend this for somebody who perhaps enjoys drama. Some historical aspects is not really historically forward, or there's not a lot of necessarily historical references, but it's a period drama. And somebody who may be familiar with previous writings of previous century writings. It's not that difficult to read if you have never read any 20th century author. Perhaps it might take you a little longer, and you would have to look for the words in the dictionary or Google things. But I think that it's a good read all the same. Of course, for now, halfway through, main trigger warning would be um, death, obviously, because there's been a death in the family. Um, and sometimes for anxious people, reading another person's anxiety may trigger something. Like for me, so far, it hasn't really done me any damage. It's not like when I read Gone Girl. Gone Girl really did give me so much anxiety. By the halfway point, I was just like, I can't continue reading this. Like it's hurting me. It's driving me nuts. But I would say that, you know, um, just doing a bit of research beforehand wouldn't hurt. But I think that it's a very interesting read. And I've been reading a lot of 20th century writings in which, now that I think about it, a lot of female main characters, which is another big thing for me. I like my female main characters. And again, it's just the human experience of things that sometimes are difficult to explain to other people at the time. Because, of course, she doesn't want to confide in her husband, for example. But yeah, I just wanted to put some things out there. I hope I'll be done reading this by the end of June. It's already June 1st, and I haven't sat down to film like a proper intro to any of this. I mean, my channel is halfway through at the moment, under construction, but I just need a tripod and a good setting because I would love to record in front of my window, but I'm doing this as a sort of vloggy kind of thing of just I just finished correcting some things and I just needed to I was itching to get it out of my system at this point. I didn't even care for a backdrop. I mean, it looks nice, right? I mean, sunset, and I had to turn on some of my lights at this point, but I just need to figure out my setup. I do want to record from my desk, especially because I get sunlight directly to my face, and that would be nice to have. But I do have other spots in the house that I could record from. I would love to have my books as my backdrop, but it's not, my apartment doesn't have the best layout for that. But yeah, this was just like a silly little thing that I wanted to record, and I'll probably put in the middle of my one of my first videos. I don't know what I'm doing like in order of things, but I just wanted to document what I'm reading at the moment, and my intention is to do that with most of my videos or most of the things that I'm reading or will read. Like I said, as a sort of journal for myself of what I read in this moment of my life and how I felt about it. And probably some of the things like my physical TBR, my digital TBR, the books that I've read in the past couple of years. Perhaps I could talk about them or do a reread to talk about them. Also, as a teacher, book recommendations for students, depending on the level, obviously. But yeah, so I think I'll just end this right here. I'm pretty happy with how this looks. I'm recording on my phone. I'm not striving for quality, really. I'm just striving for authenticity and like moments of being, as Virginia Woolf would say. And I think that because I'm engaged in so much academic activity, that it gets my brain working, and that's what I'm looking for. Like, I want to keep my brain active regarding literature and literary analysis or reflection, because it's something that I never got the opportunity to do. So I think it's very valuable, considering the fact that I'm doing a master's degree at the moment on a culture and literature, in English, obviously. So for me, it's important that I get to exercise. That would be the word. The right word would be exercise. And like any skill, when you need to go to the gym, you need to train every day. So that's why I'm doing this, and that's why I decided to start this channel, to motivate myself to think more, or to at least put my thoughts out there. And if there's anybody out there that stumbles upon this and likes to engage in conversation, I'm totally okay with that. Like, but it's sort of like one of those solo activities that for me is enriching in on itself. But we'll see how this goes. My idea is to keep it to a chill rhythm and level of content producing, especially because it's just me and I'm very busy all the time, unfortunately. But I don't know what I was going to say. Just rambling at this point. But anyway, I better end it here because I've been recording for 20 minutes, which is, well, almost 20 minutes, which is quite interesting to say. But anyway, probably I will add a proper closure to this when I edit it. But anyway, that would be all for right now.